Fear is one of the most powerful emotions we experience. It whispers to us in the quiet moments, shouts at us in times of crisis, and can influence every decision we make. Fear has the power to shape our lives, but does it have to? What if fear isn't an enemy, but a misunderstood companion? What if, instead of avoiding it, we could learn from it? Throughout history, wise teachers have explored the nature of fear. Among them, the Buddha offered timeless insights into understanding and dissolving fear, not through suppression, but through mindful observation and compassionate action. Fear of failure, rejection, or even the unknown can be transformed into clarity, courage, and inner peace. In this exploration, we'll uncover practical lessons from Buddhist teachings to confront fear, move beyond its grip, and experience true freedom. These lessons aren't confined to monasteries or ancient texts, they are tools anyone can use to live more fearlessly and authentically. As you read, you'll discover how fear can be transformed from a barrier into a guide. Imagine living with a heart unburdened by worry and a mind free to embrace life's possibilities. The journey isn't about eliminating fear but mastering it, allowing it to lead you toward growth rather than limitation. Are you ready to take the first step toward a fearless life? It begins with awareness, acknowledging the fears that hold you back and choosing to face them with courage. Start small. Begin by observing your fears without judgment and practicing the steps outlined in these teachings. But don't stop there. Fear thrives in isolation, so let's build a community of courage. Share your journey, whether it's your first attempt to confront fear or a story of transformation, with those who might need inspiration. Leave a comment below to tell us how these teachings resonate with you. If this message speaks to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this piece with friends or family who might be wrestling with fear. Let's spread wisdom and support, one conversation at a time. And if you're ready for more practical tips and inspiring stories to fuel your growth, subscribe to join us on this transformative journey. The life you desire, free from fear, is closer than you think. All it takes is the courage to begin. Will you take that step today? Lesson 1. Understand the nature of fear. Fear is often born out of misunderstanding. The Buddha taught that fear arises when we mistake the impermanent for the permanent. We fear the unknown, the uncertain, and the things we believe are outside our control. But in reality, everything, our feelings, our circumstances, and even fear itself, is impermanent. Think of fear like a passing storm. It may seem intense when it's upon you, but storms never last. They roll in, build up, and eventually dissipate. Fear works in much the same way. It is temporary. When we see fear for what it truly is, a transient experience, its power over us begins to weaken. Take a moment to reflect. The next time fear arises, ask yourself, what am I truly afraid of? Is this fear based on something that will last forever? Or is it a fleeting emotion that will soon pass? Understanding that fear is temporary allows you to face it with greater clarity and strength. Lesson 2. Embrace impermanence. The Buddha's teaching of anicca, or impermanence, is a crucial tool in overcoming fear. Impermanence is the understanding that nothing in life stays the same. Everything changes, our thoughts, our emotions, and our circumstances. When we attach ourselves to something as though it is permanent, fear naturally arises because we fear loss, change, or the unknown. Imagine you're holding a leaf in your hand. The leaf may be beautiful and vibrant, but it will eventually fall to the ground. That is the nature of life. Our circumstances, our relationships, and even our fears come and go like the changing seasons. When you embrace the impermanent nature of all things, fear becomes less intimidating. Fear of loss or change diminishes when we realize that everything, including our experiences and fears, is fleeting. Reflect on your own life. Think of moments when you feared something, whether it was losing a job, a relationship, or a chance at success, only to realize, in hindsight, that those fears were short-lived. Change didn't destroy you, it transformed you. By accepting impermanence, you loosen the grip that fear has on your heart and mind. You realize that no matter how intense the fear feels in the moment, it is only temporary, like the ebb and flow of tides. One of the most profound teachings of the Buddha is that our minds are often clouded by illusions. Fear is not always a reflection of reality, but rather a creation of the mind. We tend to exaggerate situations, creating worst-case scenarios in our minds that have little or no basis in fact. Fear often stems from our thoughts and projections, rather than actual threats. Consider this: how many times have you feared something that never came to pass? Perhaps you avoided a challenge because you were afraid of failure, only to later discover that the fear was unfounded. The reality was never as bad as your imagination made it out to be. Fear can be likened to a shadow. It seems large and looming, but when you turn to face it, you realize it's nothing more than a trick of the light. To see fear as an illusion, ask yourself, is this fear based on something real? By questioning the stories you tell yourself, you can break free from the grip of fear. The next time fear arises, challenge its validity. Ask, is this situation as dangerous as I think it is? What's the worst that could happen? And how likely is that? In doing so, you take away fear's power. Lesson 4, Practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is a transformative practice that lies at the heart of the Buddhist teachings. It is the art of being fully present in the moment, without judgment or attachment. When fear arises, our minds often wander into the future, imagining what might happen. We worry, we ruminate, and we spiral into anxious thoughts. Mindfulness interrupts this cycle by bringing us back to the present moment. Imagine a snow globe. When you shake it, the snow inside swirls chaotically. Similarly, our minds are often full of turbulent thoughts when fear takes over. But when you let the snow settle, clarity returns. In the same way, mindfulness allows your mind to settle, bringing clarity and peace. To practice mindfulness, begin by observing your thoughts without becoming entangled in them. When fear arises, don't label it as bad or wrong. Instead, simply acknowledge it: this is fear. Take a deep breath and allow yourself to fully experience the moment, observing your body's sensations and your thoughts without reacting. Over time, this practice will help you gain greater control over your mind, allowing fear to pass without overwhelming you. Mindfulness doesn't just help you cope with fear, it helps you cultivate a deep sense of peace, regardless of external circumstances. Lesson 5, Let go of attachment. Attachment is at the root of many of our fears. We fear losing people, things, or opportunities because we believe our happiness is dependent on them. The Buddha taught that true freedom comes from releasing our attachments. When we stop clinging to things and outcomes, we free ourselves from the grip of fear. Imagine holding a handful of sand. The tighter you squeeze, the more the sand slips through your fingers. But when you open your hand, the sand rests gently and peacefully. Life is much like that sand. When we cling to people, possessions, or outcomes, we create fear, the fear of losing what we hold dear. By practicing non-attachment, we can still love, work hard, and pursue our goals. We do so without the desperate need to control the outcome. To let go of attachment, focus on the process, not the result. For example, when working toward a goal, pour your energy into the journey, not the destination. If you love someone, cherish them, but release the need for them to fulfill all your desires. Non-attachment doesn't mean apathy. It means loving without clinging, achieving without obsession, and living without fear of loss. Reflect on your own attachments and ask yourself, what am I afraid of losing? And how would I feel if I released my attachment to it? The answers may reveal the true freedom that lies in letting go. Lesson 6, Cultivate compassion in times of fear. It's easy to become consumed by our own worries and anxieties. We turn inward, fixating on our own suffering. But the Buddha taught that the antidote to fear is compassion. By extending kindness and understanding to ourselves and others, we shift the focus away from fear and open ourselves to love and connection. Compassion doesn't just alleviate suffering, it transforms it. When we show compassion for others, we create a bond that helps both parties rise above fear. It reminds us that we are not alone, and that love and kindness can be more powerful than any fear. When fear arises, take a moment to offer compassion to yourself. Acknowledge your fear without judgment, and remind yourself that it is okay to feel afraid. Then, extend compassion to others. Offer a kind word, lend a helping hand, or simply listen without judgment. By embracing the Buddha's teachings on impermanence, mindfulness, compassion, and non-attachment, we can transform fear into a tool for personal growth and spiritual freedom. Remember that fear is temporary, and it does not define you. Through practice, patience, and a deep understanding of your mind, you can dissolve fear and unlock the power of inner peace. May you walk this path with courage, clarity, and the wisdom to rise above all fear.